Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable exit planning advisors from across the country. And joining me on this segment is David Bastiaans. David, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
David, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically, who are the types of clients that you specialize in helping?
Sure. Um, my first profession, I was a CPA and did that for a few years, 4.5 years. And since then, I have worked as a lawyer and an attorney with Wolcott Rivers Gates in Virginia Beach. I focus my practice on helping business owners, both with their business planning as well as trying to design something that they can sell in the future. So we talk about transferable value. And then along with that, I do estate planning, primarily for the business owners because the two plans need to come together.
We found that there's not a lot of awareness in this field and when, having people get prepared to sell their businesses. When folks reach out to you and look for your help, where are they in their heads? What are they looking for help? What are their biggest concerns? What do you hear?
Misinformation, being overwhelmed by the whole process, um, are the primary areas that cause some difficulties for clients. For me, I don't focus on, quote, the succession or the exit. I focus on the business owner. The business is there to serve the business owner's goals and objectives. And I try to convince them that they need to look at their business as an asset and not as an income producing investment, because I want them to create something that they can grow and create transferable value. So by doing that, I get their mind off of succession and exit planning. But at the end of the day, when they are ready to leave or make a choice, I call it the freedom of choice. So 5 years, 10 years down the road, they have an optimal business at its highest value, and they can choose whether to continue the business because they're enjoying it so much, or they have something that they can sell.
Some of the misinformation that you mention out there that leads to like myths or misconceptions, what are some of the biggest ones that you keep hearing?
Um, One that I hear all the time is make your key employees an owner. And I don't subscribe to that philosophy. I think owners need to have a purpose if we're going to offer ownership. Um, it's got to be with a purpose. And it's not simply that they're worried that they're not going to be around or that they're going to leave. So oftentimes I hear, I'm going to make this person an owner because I don't want them to leave and I want them to be a part of my succession plan without even considering what that means. Um, the other aspect of it is, it can be overwhelming when you think, what are my options? How do I digest what is my best option? I'm going through that with a client right now who went from a consideration of selling it to his key employees to now a third party. And so I try to educate them on the pros and cons of all of that.
You mentioned, your focus on the business owner as opposed to like an exit plan or succession plan. Tell me a little bit more about that. How early should people start focusing on that? And tell us a little bit about your methodology.
So, I think from inception, they should be thinking about creating something that they can grow and create transferable value and eventually sell. Um, I think before you sell, you need to be at least 5 years considering all this. So you can improve the business and sell it at its optimal state. Um, and, I've just met with a young man who I'm trying to help him with his business. He's just starting it off the ground, but we're trying to work on his business to do it in a way that he will have something that he can have an investment to transfer at some point.
You do
But I
hear a
would say
lot
at
of
least 5 years.
you do hear a lot of people, you'll hear people say start with the end in mind, but then not so many folks do that. Is that kind of what you're finding? People aren't really having they're thinking growth, 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 but not really thinking of the end in mind?
Yes. I like to tell a client, whenever you get into your car, you know where you want to go and you know how to get there. It's no different with your business. You have to set goals and objectives. You have to set mile markers. Are you achieving those mile markers? If you achieve those mile markers, then you have, again, freedom of choice. Do I exit or do I continue down this path? Um, if they don't have an end goal in sight, then how do they know when they get there? Right? So I think they all need to have an end goal, whether it is a sale to their employees or if they end up selling to a third party. With a plan, if it doesn't work out, then they can shift gears and go in a different direction.
As you start working with your clients on their business, and are there any big common mistakes that you see over and over again, or pitfalls that they fall into that you can help people avoid?
The primary one is that they jump into something not understanding it. I'm an educator at heart. I've been adjunct faculty at a local university here for a number of years, and that's my approach of my practice. My clients, I have to feel comfortable that my clients will understand the overall transaction. So I use flow charts, I use tools to help them and break them down because, let's face it, legal documents are not the easiest documents to read. So oftentimes I think they enter into something hoping it's what they want, but maybe not understanding it fully.
You mentioned a little bit of your background. Tell us, like, what inspired you to really focus in on this particular area of study? How did you get started?
Well, I've been practicing law for 20 something years, and probably after the last 15 to 16 years, my focus has always been on business owners. And, I was doing shareholder buy-sell agreements, agreements to protect the owners, to trigger events. And I felt like there was a missing component to that. That was just a transfer amongst owners, but there was so much more. So with my CPA, with my legal background, I wanted to go into more of an exit planning strategy, more of a succession planning strategy, because I thought that was an area that closely held businesses just don't have the luxury of being able to sell on the open market. So they need to have a plan.
David, before I ask you my last question, is there anything that I didn't think to ask in regards to this that you feel is important to share with a business owner today? Or what would you like the key takeaway from this conversation to be?
The key takeaway is all professionals need to be involved with this process. There's no one professional that can provide everything from beginning to end. You need your CPA in the room. You need your attorney in the room. You need your financial advisors in the room. You need all of those parties to be on the same page. And you need one person to kind of quarterback that whole scenario, but keeping everyone informed. That would be the key takeaway that I would want business owners to have from today.
Great insight. David, for folks listening now that we've struck a chord with that would like to get more information, how can they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Sure. I have a website called theoneboss.com, theoneboss.com. And that's where I focus on business succession and business planning as part of my practice. I'm also on my firm's website, obviously, Walcott Rivers Gates. But more of my information regarding business succession is on theoneboss.com.
This has been terrific. David, thank you so much for taking the time to share with my audience today. And I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
I appreciate it, Mark. Thank you.
That was David Bastiaans, and this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done so they can educate consumers, grow their practices, and leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.